Hello, Albuquerque.
In those days, it was 41, so there was a lot of racism.
I'm a Boeing 737 first officer.
I did a lot of research, and I recommend everyone do the same.
And now suddenly you're addicted,
Right.
literally to heroin.
Where were you born? I was born in Cambridge, England.
Both my parents were drug addicts.
Welcome everybody to another episode of Ordinary Joe's Extraordinary Stories. Today I've got another special guest with me, my good friend George Ahrens. George, welcome to the show.
Thanks, James. Good to be here.
Thanks, man. I appreciate you taking the time out of your day. I know you're a super busy guy.
Yeah, I have some time today, though.
Good. You're always on the move, which I want to talk about, but we'll get to that in a minute. I like to start these things off with how I know people, and you and I met because of your job and my job. So I guess, in a sense, we're sort of co-workers. Now, you work for... Is it okay to talk about who you work for?
Sure, absolutely.
Okay, so you work for Siemens Energy, is that correct?
That is correct.
And what do you do for Siemens?
I am a field service engineer.
That's a very simple way to to say what you do.
That's it.
Okay, well, I work at the lab. We all know that. And how you and I are connected up there is through our CGTG, which is our combustion gas turbine generator, which is essentially just a giant jet engine that creates power. And you do all the work on that thing.
That is correct.
Beautiful. Love it. Okay, so I want to take it back to the beginning. I want to talk about your childhood coming up. How?
Wow.
Yeah. I want to know. Okay, so first and foremost, how did you get into aviation? Because we're both co-av geeks, and
Oh, yeah.
I've discussed on this program many times how I got into it. But how did you get into aviation?
Well, I started at an air show with my dad, watching jets streak through the sky, and just fell in love with it. And my interest from there just grew, and I always wanted to be a pilot. So I started looking into career paths into becoming a pilot, and found that enlisting into the United States Navy was a potential avenue, even though very difficult to get in that way. But I applied, got in, and found out that it was a 0.0001% chance of becoming a pilot or an enlisted man.
Jeez.
But they still put me into aviation as a electrician, an aviation electrician's mate for the USN.
Nice, man. So did that just ended your pilot aspirations, or did you think about doing it later, or?
Yeah, after I got out, I went to do some private pilot license.
Sure.
And passed that, did the FAA exam, and missed it by 2 points, and then I just started partying.
Oh.
And then I just forgot about piloting.
Oh, geez. Okay, so how old were you when you first got that inkling for aviation, that air show that you were at?
That was like 10 years old, 12 years old, something like that.
Nice. And how old were you when you started partying?
That was probably at 20 years old. When I got out of the Navy when I was 20 years old.
Okay. And now, have you thought, in your older age, about going back for private pilots or anything like that?
I discussed it a few times, but with my profession, it was very interesting. So I just decided to give that piloting portion up and just keep my piloting on simulators.
Perfect. Love it. What simulator do you use?
Well, back in the day, I used several different ones. I remember the Microsoft. It's like a commercial airline pilot.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, the new Microsoft flight sim is something else. I've watched videos about it.
I haven't seen that. I've seen videos as well. They're really, really realistic cockpits and stuff, which I worked on in the airlines.
Too cool. Yeah, we'll get there. Okay, so you live in Miami, and
Yes.
have you always lived in Miami?
Pretty much. I was born in New York City, but
Dang.
moved at an early age. I was like months old, I guess, not even a year old. We moved down to Miami and stayed here until I joined the Navy.
Wow, that's crazy. And what's life like in Miami? I know you don't spend a whole lot of time there because you're always traveling, but what's it like down there?
Well, back in the early days, I went to the beach a lot, did a lot of outdoor activities year round, pretty much.
Sure.
You know, we even I recall doing a lot of beach days on the day after Christmas. You know, December 26th, Christmas Day, or the day after Christmas, going on the beach with my friends. You know.
Yeah, no, that's very similar to where I lived in California. I lived in the Mojave Desert in a place called Rosamond. And I remember for Christmas one year it was 120 degrees and we just spent the day in the pool because, it's too damn hot.
Oh my God.
Yeah, wild. All right, so let's talk real quick go back to the CGTG. What can you tell me about that engine in relation to aviation?
Well, it's a Rolls-Royce RB211 24 GT, and it produces about 30 megawatts at its optimum efficiency.
Sure.
Down there, I think we get up to maybe 24 megawatts.
If we're lucky, yeah. It's been running around 22 at peak, so
22 with the heat and the altitude, it changes the power limitations.
Now, if that was in an airplane, what airplane would that be in?
Well, originally, the RB211 was designed for the Lockheed L-1011 TriStar.
Which happens to be your favorite aircraft, if I'm not mistaken.
It was the most unique, and as one of the first commercial aircraft I worked on when I worked in the commercial aviation. So it's really cool avionics, the cutting edge of avionics at the time. It was a fly-by-wire. It was a crazy Autoland system where you could actually take off, from a rollout to getting to the gate, automated, 100%.
That's crazy.
The pilots would not touch the stick.
That's cool. And as the engineer, did you ever go up with them in that plane, like in the cockpit?
I didn't. I never went up on the L-1011, but I did go on other aircraft for testing different systems that had failed. And when you get on the ground, everything works. Goes back up, and it fails again. So for those, I actually flew in as a test engineer or test tech.
That's cool.
I was yeah.
Tell me what do you call it? What airlines you worked for?
Well, I started at actually an engine overhaul facility called Batch Air in Miami, and later they turned into Greenwich Air Services, which were specifically for commercial aviation engine service. So a commercial aircraft would have reached their hour limit and send us their engines. We'd strip it down, overhaul it, put everything back, and call it 0 hour.
Oh wow. So those planes get new life that way.
Exactly.
And what about the?
And
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
go and that was just for the engines.
Right.
And after a couple years there, had an opportunity at Eastern Airlines,
Oh, cool.
which was really cool. And that's where I started working on the L-1011s, the DC-9s,
Dang.
A300s, 727s, and 757s.
Damn, that's cool, man. That's so crazy. A lot of those aircraft don't even exist in aviation anymore.
Exactly.
That's gnarly.
Yeah.
Do you have any kind of memorabilia, or did you save any bits and bobs from any of those planes, or are you not the collector type?
Oh, I am definitely a collector. Back then, I don't remember ever picking anything off of there. But I have seen some stuff rolling around eBay that I was like, man, that'd be great to keep in my man cave or my garage.
Oh yeah, totally. That's really cool, man. So Eastern Airlines, did you work for any other airlines, or was that like the majority of your aviation career?
That's pretty much my commercial aviation career. From there, I started working on the ground power units.
Okay, and you do have a how do we put it? An association with Top Gun, do you not?
Navy Fighter Weapons School.
Boom. Tell me about that.
Yeah, well, I was going through what they call A school in Navy, and they had options for different places to go after you were done with the schooling. So depending on how well you did in the classroom, the classroom was about 35 guys and a girl, and they had 35 billets, as they call them, were different places, and I was, I think, number 2 or number 3, and there was a NFWS NAS Miramar, California, and I got to pick it, and I found out that it was Top Gun back before the movie came out.
That's crazy.
So I didn't even know what Top Gun was, but I got in, did my training for those aircraft, which are the A4 Skyhawks.
Dang.
And they started producing the movie while I was there, and they actually completed it while I was there as well, and gave us tickets to the premiere, since they did the filming there.
That's too cool. And did you meet anybody from the set or anything?
I met Top Maverick, Tom Cruise. He was coming in. I was actually pulling duty, checking the gate. There was a man gate to allow people in and out.
Sure.
And so I have to check for IDs.
Oh, dang.
And Tom Cruise comes up from outside without a cover, without a hat. And, he's like coming in, looking at me. And I slap him a salute, like, "Good afternoon, sir."
You're like, "I need to see your ID." He's like, "Are you kidding me?"
And he goes, "Hey, thanks, man."
Oh, that's pretty cool. Humble guy, huh?
Yeah, super cool.
So you do a lot of traveling for your work. Tell me about some of the places you travel.
Well, I've been since 33 years ago. I started working doing the same position, and I've traveled to 45 different countries,
That's
5
cool.
different continents. I still haven't gotten to Antarctica or Australia.
Oh, come on. What are you waiting
I know,
for?
right?
And when you travel, obviously Siemens pays for that travel, but do you ever kick in a few extra bucks to upgrade to premium economy or
Yeah, sometimes.
business class?
Because I travel so much, I've probably got about 2 million miles
Holy
of
crap.
passenger travel. So I have a bunch of mileage, and a lot of times they allow you to use miles to upgrade, and sometimes you get, if you're traveling a super long distance, they allow you to do business class, and then you upgrade from business to the
first class.
First class,
Damn,
right?
that's cool. And
That's been pretty cool.
What's the most luxurious one you've traveled on?
Honestly, I like the Virgin Atlantic.
What plane?
I remember. I can't. I think it was a 747.
Oh, so jealous.
Flying from London Heathrow to Miami direct, and I was able to get up in a nose cone, which is actually farther forward than the pilot is, up on the second floor.
That is freaking crazy. I'm not jealous. You're jealous. That's so awesome.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
And where else in the world have you traveled? Like, give me some of those countries you've been to.
Japan was a really cool place to go.
Now these travel, you're working on similar stuff to what you work on at my job, right?
That's correct. They're gas turbines. We call them gas turbines, but they're jet engines. Yeah.
Are they all similar to ours, or is there a whole bunch of different jet engines that they use for these things?
So we had like an exclusive contract with Rolls-Royce initially, and later Rolls-Royce bought the company, and I worked for Rolls-Royce for many, many years.
Oh, wow.
Then Siemens took over, and then Siemens Energy branched off. So,
but the engines...
So yeah. So the RB211 was the main engine, the most that I've worked on.
Okay.
There's also a really old Avon engine, single spool.
Avon.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's pretty cool. And they're still using them. They're still upgrading those engines, and
that's crazy.
They're getting a lot of life out of them. Also, the old Allison 501. That's also been purchased by Rolls-Royce.
That's crazy.
And the biggest engine we've worked on is the Trent.
And what is that? What would the Trent come from? What jet?
That's the big ones. That's the A380.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Dang.
Those are high power engines. I think they got one up to like 120,000 pounds of thrust or something like that.
Woo! What is the megawatt output on one of those?
Oh, the ground power one, we've got up to 66 megawatts.
Dang.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we need to upgrade.
Yeah.
I want to see that engine.
Yeah, it's great.
Is it significantly bigger than ours?
It's not too much. It's probably I would say 1/3 larger.
Oh wow. And that much difference in output. That's crazy.
Yeah, and twice the power, yeah.
Okay, so tell me about your schooling. How did you learn all of this stuff, and what did that look like back in the day? How did you get started and proceed to where you're at now?
Yeah, I use YouTube the whole time. No, I'm just kidding.
Perfect.
Now, back then we didn't have YouTube, but
you're starting to show my age. I'm gonna have to ask you to calm down on that.
So yeah, I started in the Navy. Actually, the Navy gave me all the training I needed for working on jet engines, aircraft systems, troubleshooting, all the maintenance. Yeah, it was really good going. What I did when I was 17 years old. Got that out of the way. I was out by 20, and then the commercial aircraft companies, they would, or like specifically Eastern Airlines, they would hold these system classes.
Okay.
And pay. Basically, it's their own instructors. Yeah, it's an in-house training for the systems of the different aircraft.
Man, that's cool. I'm so jealous that you got to play with all those airplanes, man.
It was a blast, really a blast. The L-1011 was just blew my mind.
Yeah, that's
the way it could land by itself, and we'd have to test that and jack up the aircraft. This is a gigantic wide-body aircraft, so we would jack it, put jacks on it, and have the hydraulics running. We wouldn't run engines on it, but we'd have ground power hooked up to it. Hydraulic system would run, and the landing gear would come in and come out for our test.
Damn, that's cool. And they're still L-1011s flying, right, with cargo airlines?
I think there's only one left.
No kidding.
I think it's called the Stargazer, I think. I'm not sure what they use it for, but...
Wow.
Yeah, there weren't very many. I think there were like 300 units that were made.
That's great. That makes me so sad. There's so many planes I want to fly on and can't because they don't exist anymore.
Exactly. I have one, which was the Concorde, which I never flew on.
I was going to say, you flew the Concorde. I'm super jealous.
No.
Did you ever... have you seen the Concorde in person? Like any of the...
Yeah, absolutely. I was in... flying from Miami to Kuwait right after the Kuwait War with Iraq.
Wow. Yeah.
And you got to fly on BA to Heathrow, and then there's a waiting room there. I was in a lounge, and out the window is the Concorde just straight at you.
That's cool.
So cool.
Have you gone inside of it?
No, I wasn't able to do that.
Yeah.
But I think I remember going to a museum that had part of it in there, and it showed how the mechanism worked, where the nose, the whole, yeah,
that's crazy.
Exactly. But it was tiny. I remember it was tiny.
What the jet itself, or
the aircraft, the inside was like, how do the people fit in here? It's like smaller than a Dash 8.
Wow.
Turboprop engine, or turboprop aircraft. It was just really tight in there.
Dang. Well, I mean, the sacrifices you make for fast air travel. What was it, 3 hours from JFK to Heathrow? Something like that?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
It's insane. And now they have a new one coming out. Not them, but there's a new company that they're getting, I think they have a place in North Carolina, or where they built it.
Dang.
The Overture, I think.
Dang. We're moving back into the 70s. Love it.
Yeah, exactly.
That's awesome. I'm really trying to... There's a list of planes that I still want to fly on, like the 747 is one of them, for instance, that and the 380. I'm making it my goal to get on those planes one of these days, but the airlines that are flying them are becoming few and far between.
Yeah.
Although I did see a video with Lufthansa recently that they said they'll never get rid of their 747s, and I was like, okay, cool.
Wow.
Yeah, they're super they're super loyal to that branding, and I think that's gonna play out good for them in the long run, because av geeks like myself are gonna specifically look for that jet, and
absolutely,
wherever that jet flies is where we're going.
That's where we're going. And that 747 used to have RB211s. I think that they still do. They might have upgraded to maybe a Trent or a GE90 or something like that.
What variation of the 747 would that have been on?
The 200s.
Oh, the 200.
200s. Yeah.
That is so
Yeah.
old.
I was flying across the pond.
Dang.
And I got upgraded, whatever, and I was sitting next to a pilot that was getting a ferry flight, and it was 747 pilot, and I told him where I worked for. I was working for Rolls-Royce, and he goes, "Oh, those are the best engines in the world."
Yeah, buddy.
And he was just raving about the reliability, because he would be going back and forth all the time on that route.
Between what airports?
It was I want to say it was Heathrow, New York, or Paris, New York.
Okay.
I think he went across that way, and the engine failures he saw was like barely any on the Rolls Royce and a few more on the GEs.
Oh wow!
There was a couple variants that he had. They flew GE engines, and the Rolls Royce engines were his favorite because they never failed.
That's cool. Now, how long in time have you been flying as just as a patron of flight?
Well, since I pretty much started flying a lot when I started working in 1991 at Cooper Energy Service back then. So, but before that, I started flying since I was 5 or 6 with my parents, going to Mexico City, I think.
Dang. So, in all of your flight miles and travel, what's been your most hairy experience on a plane?
Oh, there's several.
Oh yeah,
there are several experiences.
Well, let's hear it.
Well, one was actually we never took off, but we were. I think I was taken off to Venezuela somewhere out of Miami, and we were on full power, taking off on the runway, and the right engine, which I was right next to, big bang, surge,
compressor stall,
boom, 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 boom.
Dang.
And then the brakes came on.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, interesting enough, that's what got me into aviation, is that exact situation. Except it wasn't a compressor stall. There was nothing wrong with the engines. I don't know. I never found out what the captain called it for. But yeah, high speed rejected takeoff is what got me into.
Wow, that is.
It was wild.
So scary.
Yeah, man. I can't even describe to you the intensity of the G-force change between speeding down a runway and slamming on the brakes. It's
oh my god,
insane. Like you get stuck face first to the seat in front of you.
Yes, absolutely.
So, give me some other hair-raising.
I think it was MD-80, a DC-9.
Oh wow!
Where we took off and the nose gear didn't want to retract. Yeah, so we had to fly around, tried multiple times to bring it in, and it failed. So we had to like dump some fuel, and then come back for a landing. But yeah, that wasn't too bad.
Now, what about I don't know. I guess what I'm getting at here is there's a lot of nervous flyers, and I'm trying to, with the amount of miles and years that you've been flying, I'm trying to see if, what's the worst scenario you've been in, and how did that play out, I guess.
I guess I remember I was coming into Villahermosa, Tabasco, Mexico, and it was we shouldn't be landing in that weather situation. I mean, it was
like a thunderstorm.
Thunderstorm, and they still wanted to land.
Jeez, that's scary.
So it was scary. We went through 2 go-arounds.
Jeez, Dude.
The second one should have been like, all right, that's it.
Diversion. What?
Divert to another airport, right?
When was that? How long ago was that?
Ooh, that was like 25 years ago, something like that.
Was that before they knew about downdrafts and all that?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, fuck, dude, that's crazy.
Before they figured that out. Yeah.
That's gnarly. Do you know the story of the one that led to the change? It was an American Airlines flight going into Dallas, I think, and they caught.
I think I saw that on one of those Discovery Channel things, or can't remember.
Nat Geo or something.
Yeah. Or did it crash? I think it did crash.
Yeah, they caught the downdraft and it just shoved them into the ground.
Yeah,
that's freaking scary, man.
It is really scary.
But that's with each little incident, the aviation industry adjusts and changes rules. So, I was extremely nervous flyer prior to my incident with the brakes, the high-speed reject takeoff.
Wow.
I was really nervous, and surprisingly enough, that led me down a rabbit hole of watching every crash investigation that ever happened.
That's it.
And talking to pilots and stuff, and what really changed my outlook on flying was talking to my friend who's a pilot. He was a captain with Delta. He's retired now after 36 years, but I was talking to him, and I'm like, this guy has damn near 30 years of flight experience, and he's had just like a couple minuscule incidents, and he's fine. So
you should be fine.
Yeah, and like weirdly enough, watching all the crash investigation videos where all these planes, loss of life and all that kind of crazy stuff, all of that put me at ease, which doesn't make any sense, but knowing that
exactly, that does make no sense.
With each crash and each incident, the airline industry adjusts and makes new rules, and I don't know, for some reason that put me at ease. But yeah,
that's true. I see that.
2 million flight miles is pretty damn impressive. Yeah. And have you had any crazy turbulence issues?
Yeah, it's way up in the air. I remember pilots always trying to adjust altitude to reduce their turbulence from bigger aircraft in front using the same path.
Oh yeah.
Those giant aircraft leave a giant streak through the air.
Oh yeah, the wake.
You can't see. The wake is like, and it stays for a long time.
Yeah.
But, you'd think it's like instant, or like maybe a mile behind it, but they just keep going.
Yeah, that's crazy.
But yeah, I've been thrown into the head thing, the person.
And what was that like? Were you not wearing your seatbelt like you're supposed to be?
That's correct. I was just coming back from a head, lab call, but
oh, okay.
Yeah, and actually walking back and forth through that's another risky position.
Yeah, that's wild. What's the longest flight you've ever taken?
I think probably it's either the Japan flight or my flight from Miami to Frankfurt. That's not too bad.
What's the hours?
I think it's like 11 hours.
From Miami to Frankfurt?
Yeah.
And what was...
it was 2 flights to Tokyo. So I think I flew into Dallas, and then Dallas, Tokyo.
Oh,
and
wow.
then I came back through Chicago.
Oh, geez.
Down to Miami.
And what is that, like a 12-hour flight also?
Yeah, I think they're 12-hour. There was a flight. We used to have this private flight service from Houston to Angola.
Where's Angola?
And it was a direct... That's in Africa, just south of Nigeria.
Okay.
it's just you keep going down. Yeah. So it would be a direct, like Houston Express, it was called, and I think it was like 15 hours.
Dang. And what jet would that be on?
I believe it was an MD-11.
Oh wow.
DC-10. Yeah.
No kidding.
I think so.
I've only had one international experience is when we went to Egypt, but
oh, you told me about that. That was amazing.
Yeah, the A350.
Love the videos that you made.
Oh,
yeah,
thanks, man.
That was awesome.
But the flight on the 777, way cool, man. I was actually interviewing another pilot a couple episodes back, and I was talking to him about that experience and telling him that, like, you know, after being up in the air and being that comfortable for that long, at some point I forgot that I was on an airplane. Like, it was just like,
wow.
Oh, I'm just sitting on this, you know, comfortable couch watching movies. It's not...
Right,
you kind of forget where your atmosphere is, like what's going on around you, and you don't... because of the noise canceling headphones and whatnot, like it drowns out the noise and the engine noise, so you don't, like, it's you know, but then you get up to go to the bathroom, you're like, oh shit, I'm on an airplane, this is crazy. Yeah,
I think pressurization is also a big deal, where on the older aircraft we'd only be able to pressurize to a certain altitude, and nowadays you can pressurize, you know, you're at 45,000 feet.
Oh yeah.
And you can pressurize to like 15,000 feet or below, you know, 10,000 feet.
Yeah.
Where you don't feel that effect of the light air, you know, the light oxygen in the air.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that experience, I got to go in the cockpit of the A350 in flight, we were at 44,000 feet, I think. And I mean, I've talked about it too many times, but just something I'm never going to get
it's
over.
Amazing.
That was
it's amazing.
The coolest thing I've ever experienced.
Yeah.
So tell me about, take it back to Eastern Airlines there. Tell me some of the scenarios that you had to fly and some of the diagnostic stuff that you had to figure out with those, you know, like you were saying, the ones that was fine on the ground but up in the air would fail. Yeah.
Actually, those were on the older DC-9 aircraft. Now they're called MD-80s, I think.
And they're retired too.
Yeah.
Those were
it's a long time ago.
tail-mounted engines.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so what was a typical failure
they had
diagnostic?
They had an issue with it was something to do with anti-ice in the wings.
Oh Jesus!
So they'd have like bleed air from the engine going into the wings to keep them from icing on when you're flying.
Right. And
there was a failure that would come in on one unit all the time, and it was some light, a warning light that come in. But we do the standard, in aviation, commercial aviation, everything is by the book. You don't think. You're just paid to read and do. First, you got to find the right manual and the right edition, the right version of aircraft. So all that has to be lined up first. Then you print out the manual off of microfiche, and if you have this fault, do this test, and then it will tell you what to change when it fails. While you're testing the bleed air system or whatever. And it would always pass.
That's crazy.
No problem. So we would just change stuff just to change it.
Yeah.
Even though it didn't fail that test, it was like, what's going on here? And we eventually got it up in the air because they would always come back, fail. So we went up with it and see it actually happening, and it happened to be a harness. The wiring was fretting, and it was causing like a high current.
Oh shit!
And changing the only when the flap was pulled out and the air was blowing against the harness. It's just weird.
Holy crap! And so, so in that case, the book wasn't any help for you.
That's correct, because it only failed when it was when the we're in a certain position, the air was blowing on the harness, and it fluctuate enough for the wire to show a higher current than it would when it was not air flowing across the end.
That is crazy.
Yeah, that was a tough one.
Do you have any others?
That's really about the only one I troubleshot in the air.
Oh,
other ones were just getting me to like Dulles airport, where they had an aircraft that was not flyable, and they flew me there to troubleshoot it, because the guys there, they had like a skeleton crew in Dulles, so they couldn't figure it out.
That's Washington, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
And did you figure it out?
Yeah, it was just a box. Usually it's a box you replace it, a nav box. I mean, sometimes with an antenna, which are a pain in the butt to change because they're part of the structure of the aircraft.
Oh, jeez. Yeah. That's crazy. And did you have to do any structural stuff while you worked on these planes?
I did not. I was always avionics. I did a little bit in the Navy, but just corrosion control,
Sure. Well, and going back to what you were saying about rebuilding the engines and giving them new life, after you guys would do that, was there... I mean, obviously, there's a certain amount of flight cycles that these planes have on them structurally.
Yes.
So when you guys were doing engine rebuilds, would they also do some sort of structural upgrades or repairs or anything like that? Or how did that work?
Back there, that was only engines. Batch Air, Greenwich Air Services only did engines back when I worked there. So, but
I guess from the airlines standpoint, is it like something that we want to get this aircraft rebuilt, so let's send the engines out to get rebuilt with one company? Do they send the structure itself to another company to have it tested or rebuilt, or how does that work?
Yeah, well, actually, at Eastern Airlines, I was doing that.
No kidding.
I was part of the they call it heavy maintenance, where after so many hours, the aircraft has to go through an A check, a B check, C check, and a D check, which the D check is pretty much build a new airplane.
Oh, shit. That's crazy.
Yeah, some of the coolest things I've seen were doing D checks in a wide body.
Yeah.
They stripped everything out to the ribs.
That's freaking
Everything is off. All the windows are come out. I mean, it is a labor of love.
Have you been to the Delta Museum in Atlanta?
No, I have not.
You should go. They have
really
their last 747 that they retired. They have that parked there outside the museum, and you can go inside, and they have it completely gutted, pretty much.
No
they
way.
put in what do you call it? Plexiglass flooring, so you can see the guts underneath.
So you can walk on it. Yeah.
And they have all the top taken out, so you can just see all of the ducting and everything up top. And
absolutely. Oh my god!
Oh, it's so way cool. Yeah, and it's such a big airplane. It's so crazy.
Cavernous, it's like a giant cavern you walk into when there's none of that installed. The flooring. You can look down into the cargo area.
Right.
Up to the top, you can see all the wiring on the I mean,
Yeah, it's
it,
miles and miles of wire. It's really cool. And then,
Yeah.
and actually, that one you can still go upstairs, and they have the first class cabin upstairs the same way it was in flight, but it's old.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not modern, obviously. And then you can go into the cockpit, and actually, one of the last pilots to fly that plane signed the wall with,
Oh, no
with the flight
way.
number and
So
everything.
cool.
Yeah, that is pretty cool. Yeah, it's really cool. And actually, so my wife took me there in 2022, 2021, something like that, just so I could geek out and watch the airplanes. We stayed at the Concourse Hotel there, and it's right on
Nice.
the runway, so I got to watch planes all day. But she also bought me an hour in the Class D simulator, the full motion simulator that
Oh,
the
yeah.
pilots
You
train on.
told me about that.
And it's
Oh,
a
yeah.
737
So cool.
200 simulator, and yeah, that was a way fun experience. So you should go take some George time and
Absolutely.
get out there and and check it out.
Absolutely.
It's a
I'm going
pretty
to do that.
it's a pretty cool museum.
Awesome.
Tell me about airports. What's the coolest airport you've been to?
Airports. I really enjoyed Denver.
Really? Out of all of everywhere you've been, you say Denver.
It's super cool. I love the tent.
The tents, yeah,
the simulation of the mountains. The Rocky Mountains,
sure.
and the light that comes into that airport. In certain terminals.
Sure.
Yeah,
Actually,
it's pretty cool.
interestingly enough, my best friend, he moved to Denver recently, and a couple days ago he flew out to San Diego. He was telling me that their bathroom in one of the terminals looks out over the concourse. So when you're in the restroom, you can watch planes from there. I was like, I'm going. Denver. That's interesting.
I was just in Vancouver, and they have a really, really cool terminal there. It's an international terminal where they have like a tree growing out and enclosed in plexiglass.
Oh, that's cool.
It's coming out like 40, 50 feet, and it's open obviously to the outside.
Oh, that's cool.
Really cool. I'll send you some pictures. It's
Yeah,
really,
definitely.
really interesting.
Do you keep a flight log of all your flights?
I do not. I wish I did.
You really should, man. Download. You should download
just
an
got
app and start keeping track of that.
Yeah. I just started figuring out how many countries I was in, a few years back, and I'm like, man, I should have done that.
You absolutely. I mean, you can. It's not too late. You can backtrack at least a few years.
Wow.
I have
that would be tough.
I made a list of all the flights I've been on. Well, that I could find the actual information, just as a little side project for myself.
So you got aircraft,
all
that stuff.
The only thing I can't figure out is seat numbers, because I'd have to have my my flight pass, but I don't have those, obviously.
Boarding pass, yeah.
But and there's a couple of older flights that I took in the mid to early 2000s that I can't. There's a couple flight places where you can look that information up, but I've had no success. So, but all the way back to like 2010, 2012, I have every plane I've been on and every place I've flew, and just as a little side hobby, because I'm a nerd.
So cool.
Well, I guess there's sort of a grim, very poor reason for me wanting to do that, is because I always think if there's ever an incident, and this is in a video, I could say I was on that plane.
That's right.
It's just a fascination, and it's very bad, and I shouldn't think that way. But if an incident ever happens to a plane that I was on, I'm going to be like, I was on that plane. I flew that. That's crazy.
Yeah.
But
I feel if it's your time, it's your time to go.
No, that's unfortunate but true. Mm-hmm. I'm actually talking to the wife about possibly taking me to JFK, because I want to stay at the TWA hotel. I heard that their hotel has the best plane spotting views. You could just sit there on the runway on the roof and you just swim in the pool and just watch the planes take off and land.
Oh my gosh, that would be cool.
There's actually one in Japan too, I think at Narita.
In Narita, yeah, that's where I came in and out of.
Ah, no kidding. How many
Yeah.
times have you been there?
Just a once.
Ah, and how long ago was that?
I was in I think 2003 or 4, something like that.
Oh, damn, it's been a while.
Yeah, about 20 years almost.
Man, I want to go to Tokyo
Over 20.
bad.
Yeah, it's a great place. Great town.
Town?
Yeah, it's the largest town in the world. 40 million people.
You know, it's just a small town. Everybody knows everybody. All 40 million of us.
Well, it's about the size of a town.
Oh, that's crazy.
But everyone's just so many people. So the population density there is off the chain.
Yeah. I have a fascination with their cars. I'm a Japanese car guy, so I want to go there specifically for that. And back in before I became a vegetarian, I wanted to go for the sushi and the culture and whatnot. I have a fascination with Japan for no reason at all. I just think it's really cool.
It's great. The culture, the history, such a rich history there. After I left, I told my wife, I want to come back here for 30 days, a month, and visit every, hotspot or even off the beaten path ones.
Yeah.
Explore on your own kind of thing. But there's so much beauty.
Well, and history.
So much culture, the history. I was in Fukuoka, and I was there for like a week. So you fly into Narita, bus to Tokyo, and then from Tokyo to another flight to Fukuoka.
No kidding.
And it was pretty cool. Fascinated.
I know it's sort of morbid and grim, but I for the history's sake, I want to go to Hiroshima and Nagasaki just to visit those sites. And I can't even imagine what the thought process for people who live in these places, seeing Americans coming to visit those places, that's got to be upsetting. Just do you know that you're the cause of this? Why are you coming to visit?
I kind of see that same thing with the UK and Germany.
Yeah.
The old guys who actually lived through it or are still living.
Right.
Those guys are the most affected.
No, I bet.
But after that, it's they're so cool, the Germans.
Yeah. Yeah, I bet. I mean,
and same thing with the Japanese. I mean, Japanese were probably the most powerful army in the world.
Right.
Just because of numbers and because of their will to do whatever to defeat the enemy. They're just insane.
Right.
And I think it's probably because of that Nagasaki and
Hiroshima
that they said, okay, that's it.
Yeah, that's crazy.
It's over.
Yeah. I mean, can't really do whatever's necessary if you're not around to do it.
That's right.
What's Germany like in the modern day? I've also thought about taking a trip there.
Oh, it's very, very nice. The culture, they got a lot of churches. I was in Cologne, and the church, they're always getting rebuilt for some reason. There's always scaffolding and all over. It's constant, repair because they're just trying to maintain that old to new, that retro thing, whatever. But people are super nice. Most people there speak English.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
What's the?
Once you get out,
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Once you go out to the smaller towns, which is where I was, then you got trouble.
Really? How so?
As far as English.
Oh, speaking,
communicating with the people. They generally don't speak English.
Fair enough.
Mm.
What's the most remote place you've been?
I would say, other than offshore, probably in Bolivia, a place called Saipuru, which is in the jungle. They call it the Chaco. Apparently, it's right near where the Cuban dictator Che Guevara
Yeah.
was executed there. Even though that's not in the news, but that's really what happened.
Jesus.
Yeah.
That's
But that was a pretty far trip. It was always on the ground, so it was about 4 hours in a off-road vehicle.
Oh.
If it was dry, and one part is you're going across a railroad bridge, where you got to make sure there's no trains coming, and then you cross the bridge.
Jesus.
Tick, 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 tick. You know?
Dang.
And then if it was wet, it could take 24 hours.
Holy
you can
shit.
actually, yeah. I got stuck out there once, but yeah, that was really remote.
What's the most dangerous place you've been to, as far as, I don't know, I mean, maybe society or warfare or anything like that?
They usually don't send us to any places that have that, but there are definitely places that I would not go back.
Like what?
Some places in Nigeria were a little rough. Angola was kind of tough too. So Africa, I think there's areas of Africa.
Okay.
But the people are great. I loved the Nigerians. Were super awesome.
So what's the threat then?
Well, you feel it because you're actually being secured with armed guards.
Shit.
You're in a bus to get from where you're staying to the airport or to site.
Good Lord.
And there's a truck behind you with armed guards, AK-47s, and another truck in front of you with also armed guards.
Man.
Also in Colombia, that was a little rough too. There was areas. No, actually, this was in Ecuador. In Ecuador, on the border with Colombia, there was a jungle. That was another high security situation. And actually, in Colombia, when I was there in the 90s, the guerrilla warfare. The guerrillas. It was the guerrilla. They were actually a anti-government group.
Yeah.
And they would try to sabotage anything that had to do with government that would make them lose money.
Jeez.
So they would shoot at the helicopters coming in and out. And I remember hearing gunshots at night.
Oh man. And what does Siemens do as far as are they the ones that hire these people to be like security escorts, or is that like a local thing?
So the company that hires Siemens normally is a giant company.
Okay.
And that they hire their local security.
Man, that's
and usually it's just like part of the army or something like that.
That is nerve-wracking.
Yeah.
And do you get any kind of like special compensation for that? Is there like hazard pay or anything?
Yeah, there's like a uplift percentage. If you go to a really dangerous place, it's like 65% of whatever you make.
Oh wow.
It's like a bonus. But
is it worth it?
No.
Well, but also
absolutely not.
You get life experiences that most people don't get, and you get to see things and visit places that most people don't get. So that's
So that's the worth it part, and that's why I won't go back.
Okay, that's fair.
Been there, done that, bought the T-shirt. Next.
Okay, and so on that note, what's your favorite place that you've been? That's maybe off the beaten path.
Actually, I really like to go to Los Alamos.
Why?
Because of you, because of Joe,
Fair
because
enough.
of everybody out there. I really enjoy that, and I enjoy the environment there. What I do after work, I normally go out for a hike there.
Oh, that's cool.
Super beautiful. It's beautiful.
I'm gonna have to take you to play some disc golf up on the hill there one of these days after work.
Yeah,
Go out there
sounds
and
good.
shoot around a disc golf, but it's got to be in the summer. So, when are you guys coming out again?
I'm scheduled next month.
No kidding.
Doing a performance test.
Oh, is that the what is
Warm
it?
weather.
Warm weather performance test.
Yeah.
And then I guess they're following that up with an annual maintenance or something like that. Is that part of what you're going to be there for?
I don't know if they push that, or right now I'm only just early August for a couple days.
No. I think we're going to have to extend that.
Yeah, I'm down.
All right, George. Well, I want to be respectful of your time, and I've taken enough of it. So thank you for joining me today on this little podcast and walking me through your aviation life and adventures. and I'm sure that I want to hear more of your stories in person.
Absolutely. My pleasure. Appreciate you selecting me for this honor of being on your podcast.
Oh, thanks,
you,
man. And in case you haven't seen it yet, I'll send you the link. I've already got a couple episodes live, so
great. Yeah, please do.
I know you have lots of time on those airplanes, so
there you go. Just download them before you get on. Yep.
Yes, sir. All right, George. Well, you have a great day, and thank you again for doing this. I appreciate you. We'll see you soon, buddy.
All right, James. Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.